What's up, guys? Welcome back to our channel. Here we have my husband. Anyways, I'm just kidding. Before we start, make sure you give this video a like
and subscribe.
And we're gonna be talking about my labor and delivery. Okay, so basically how we're gonna do this is I'm gonna talk about my side of the story, and because he wasn't there with us, he's gonna talk about his story, how he felt. So let's get right to it. So in the last video, I told you guys that I graduated the week before I gave birth, so we're gonna start with that. So the continuation school I was going to for teens who are pregnant, they have programs, and I was in one of them. They gave me a nurse that would come to my house and, you know, check on my weight, check on my baby. I remember I had an appointment with her, and she was checking my blood pressure. She basically told me that it was higher than usual, and she was like, when you go to your doctor's appointment on Tuesday, make sure you tell them to, you know, look at your blood pressure. So then I go to my doctor's appointment on Tuesday, and I tell them, my nurse that comes and visits me said that my blood pressure was higher than usual. They were like, oh, you know, it's fine. Okay, so maybe she's tripping, whatever. I'm not a doctor, I don't know. So then the doctor comes in, and then she starts to measure my belly to measure how big he was. And she was kind of like, hold on, let me check again. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what the heck is going on? And then she measures him again, and then she's like, he's not growing. And I was like, so I'm like, what do you mean my baby's not growing? And she starts to, I don't know what she does on the computer, but she does something on the computer, and then she measures me again. She tells me that his head is too big and the rest of his body's not growing, and my heart just like drops. I'm like, so what are you telling me? Like, my baby's not growing, but his head's too big for his body? She told me that I needed to have like an ultrasound on that Saturday. She was concerned about his growth. I start freaking out. I leave the doctor's office. My mom's outside waiting for me. I get in the car. She looks at me. She's like, what happened? And immediately I just start crying and crying. You know, I'm emotional. The doctor just told me my baby's not growing right. His head's too big. And then I start getting these really bad cramps in my stomach. And I'm like hyperventilating. And she's like, calm down, you need to calm down. And it just, these pains don't go away. I didn't even eat that night when I got home. I was just in so much pain. You know, I was stressing over him. It felt like really bad cramps. So, you know, I'm sleeping and I wake up in the middle of the night, and these pains are growing and it's getting so much worse. Like, I was tossing and turning. I couldn't get comfortable. I couldn't sleep. When I was living with my mom, me and my sister shared a room. So I was making all kinds of noises. I go to the bathroom because I feel like I have to throw up. I'm nauseous. And she goes in the bathroom. She's like, what's wrong? Like, what's happening? And I'm telling her that I'm in pain. And I'm like, go wake up, mom. Go wake up, mom. She's asking me what's wrong. And I'm in so much pain and I'm crying. And I can't even like get the words out because it's hurting too much to even talk. They call labor and delivery at Kaiser because that was my hospital. The girl's trying to talk to me on the phone, and same thing, I can't talk, I'm in too much pain. She basically told me that we have to go to the hospital. And just to clarify, this was the day after I had, you know, gone to my doctor's appointment. So, you know, I was still stressing about that. So the nurse is checking me. She's asking me what was going on with me. I start telling her, and then she checks my blood pressure, and she's like, you got preeclampsia.
This whole time, you know, I'm worried and stressed out because I'm thousands of miles away, and you know, it's morning time for her. So for her to be going to the hospital, you know, I knew it was a big thing. Her sister started texting me, letting me know what was going on. She kept me updating me, which I'm really thankful for.
So yeah, my sister starts texting everyone, telling them I'm about to be admitted. She starts texting his mom, I think his sister too, but she's texting him the whole time, like he said. And I'm just like, am I really about to give birth? Like, this is crazy. I was not prepared for this at all. But I was in too much pain to even really be stressed about it. They take me to the room where I'm gonna give birth at. A lot of it is a blur to me.
Yeah, and this is when her sister started texting me, letting me know that, you know, she's gonna be admitted. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, the baby's coming today, you know. I was already supposed to come back home early for her birth, but since, you know, he wanted to come out sooner than usual, sooner than expected, I should say. At this point, you know, I'm stressed out, like, now I'm really gonna miss the birth.
Yeah, you were supposed to come back like around my due date,
yeah,
which was April 15th. You were supposed to come around there.
So I was supposed to go home, I believe, late March. I think I was supposed to go home maybe March 25th, I believe.
And the day that this is all happening is March 7th, so, you know.
So, you know, I had time.
Pretty early.
Yeah, I had a lot of time still left in the country. You know, so I was a little worried, stressed out about that. You know, I was worried like, oh, you know, she's going to give birth and I'm not going to be there for a few weeks or a month.
So, yeah, it's pretty much a blur from the moment I get there to kind of when I'm giving birth. But I remember bits and pieces. They started putting me on a whole bunch of medications. I remember one was magnesium, I think, to help with the preeclampsia or whatever it was. But yeah, so I was pretty much drugged up the whole time. I wasn't even dilated, you know, my cervix wasn't even softened. My body was not ready to give birth, but they told me that I had until the next day to give birth or else I was gonna have a C-section, and no one wants a C-section, you know. So throughout the whole day, you know, I was on medications, and they told me that I couldn't really eat. I was throwing up a whole lot.
So for me to go home, it was already pretty hard process because we weren't married at the time, and only soldiers that had spouses that were giving birth were really able to go home. So when I started finding all this out, I started talking to my commander and asking like, hey sir, you know, is there any way I can go home sooner? And he's really like, no, you know, there's really no way besides the Red Cross message. So at this point, this is when I tell my mom, I'm like, hey, the only way I might be able to go home is the Red Cross message. So she gets on the phone with the Red Cross, you know, she just starts giving them all my information, all her information.
No, I had to give them my information. So, you know, I told you I was on a whole lot of medications. I was out of it the whole time. And I remember her waking me up. This is like in the middle of the night. She's waking me up because she stayed with me, you know. Shout out to you. No, I'm just kidding. Girl had to talk to me and, you know, make sure like everything was what they were saying was, you know, right.
Valid and true.
Yeah. So he wasn't just coming home just to come home.
Usually Red Cross messages get to the unit fairly fast. It doesn't really take longer than a few hours. And I think it was pretty much instant. You know, my commander got this call. Well, I believe my first sergeant got the call. Later that evening, they called me into their office and they're like, hey, we got a Red Cross message for you. You're going home tomorrow. And at this point, you know, I'm not even packed up.
Me, I personally didn't know when he was coming home. I didn't know if he was gonna make it, you know. He said he's gonna come home the next day. I didn't know anything about that. I was 34 weeks pregnant, so that's 6 weeks early. I remember I got woken up again in the middle of the night and the doctor's checking me, and this time I'm 4 centimeters dilated, and I think my cervix, I don't remember, I don't think it was softening yet. I was like, okay, you know, we're making progress, and they're still like, you know, wait, you have a while to go. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. So fast forward, I think it's like 10 in the morning and I'm 6 centimeters dilated. They're like, you know what, you're most likely gonna give birth today or very early tomorrow morning. So I was like, let me call everyone. Texting my mom, telling her so she can get off work. I'm telling my sister, she trying to get off work too. I'm telling his sister, they're all trying to get off work. And then I tell my dad.
At this time, you know, worried than anything, and you know, I finished packing up pretty late.
And during this time, you know, I'm in pain. About to have his baby.
So fast forward 4 hours. It's 4 in the morning for me, and I'm waking up because my flight leaves at 6.
Alright, we gotta put Josiah down. He's sleeping. You know, like I said before, a lot of it is a blur. So during all this time, they're trying to help me get ready. They put like one of those balls between your legs. I guess it helps move your baby down. And after that, things started going really quick. At this time, I think it's like 4 now. I start feeling him dropping, and they're like, yeah, you still have a lot of time to go. And then I feel him like kind of pushing, and out of nowhere my water breaks. I'm laying in the bed, you know, there's a gush of water that came out literally, and I'm like, Mom, I think my water just broke. She kind of is like, no it didn't. I'm like, my water just broke, I'm wet, like something happened. And literally right after my water breaks, I start getting the worst contractions ever. I was already having contractions, you know, before, but they were like manageable. But as soon as my water breaks, they're like 100 times worse. But yeah, so I'm like, go call the doctor, do something. So the nurse comes in, like, oh yeah, I guess your water did break. I'm like, why would I lie about that? Like, what the heck? They're like, you know what, after your water breaks, it's usually a long time afterwards that you give birth. They're like, we'll be right back to give you your epidural. I'm in like excruciating pain, and I'm crying because it's the worst pain I've ever experienced. And they're taking their sweet time trying to give me the epidural. And you know, I was so mad. I was ready to cuss and hit all the nurses. I was so ready to fight. But yeah, they take like, I think 30 minutes. The girl comes in and, you know, she's like taking her time, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I wanted to beat her up right then and there. And they give me the epidural, and there's like this little button. They're like, if it gets worse, then, you know, you push this button. And I was like pushing this button so hard, and on top of all the other medicines I was on, so I was really out of it. I couldn't feel nothing once the epidural kicked in. So, you know, I was loving it, living life. Literally feel him like moving and pushing, and I'm like, you know, it's about to go down. I already know, like, my baby's coming. I'm like, go tell someone, you know, go get the doctor, the baby's coming right now. They were like, no, you still have a lot of time, you know, you're just tripping. And I'm like, I feel my baby about to come out, you need to go get someone. The doctors take their sweet time too, and I'm irritated because, you know, I'm about to give birth. And she looks at me, she's like, oh wow, yeah, his head's right here. I'm like, no one's over here believing me. I was so irritated.
So at this point, my mom's texting me, just give me an update, telling me, oh, you know, her water broke. I'm feeling excited, you know, my son's basically there, but I'm still, you know, thousands of miles away. You know, we're like third to first to check on our bag.
Oh yeah, and then I think I'm like, we need to FaceTime him, so, you know, so he could at least see the birth. So yeah, the doctor comes in. She's like, oh, you know, the baby's right there. I'm like, duh. A whole bunch of people were in the delivery room with me. I know it was because I was gonna have a premature baby, and they needed to make sure, you know, everything was gonna go good with him. They're telling me to push, and I start pushing, and like I said, I was cranking that epidural up, so I didn't feel nothing. They were like, push, and I was just like, am I pushing? They're like, yeah, you are. I'm like, okay. I literally did 3 pushes, and on the third one, they were like, okay, he's right here, little push, and everyone's talking, so I didn't hear that, and I'm over here like, ugh. They're like, little push, and then they're like, the baby's out, and I was like, oh my god. I didn't even get skin to skin with him. They take him to the incubator. Everyone's trying to talk to me. They're trying to get my placenta out, and I'm just staring at my baby because I didn't hear him cry. You know, no one heard him do anything. So, you know, I'm over here stressing out, trying to, like, he just woke up. Let me grab him.
And then, you know, so at this point, you know, I'm trying to check in my bag. You know, we're moving it, and we can't be on the phone and move at the same time. I'm getting text messages, and people are trying to FaceTime me, and I'm answering. My mom's telling me, oh, she's gonna give birth like real soon. I'm like, okay. I'm putting my phone back in my pocket to move, and I remember my TL was like, okay. I remember I was on FaceTime and I was looking, and he's like, all right, let's go, it's our turn. And I look at him, I look at my phone, and I'm like, okay. So I put it back in my pocket, I check in my bag, and literally the second I checked in my bag, I went to look away, they were like, the baby's here. And I was just like, wow, I missed it by like a few seconds. And it was like, It felt like the worst thing ever, you know. Everybody wants to watch, you know, their baby be birth, and, you know, be there and stuff. Obviously couldn't be there, but I wanted to watch it and, you know, somehow be a part of it.
And I didn't even know that he wasn't even looking, or else I would have been like, wait. But yeah, and then I heard that he missed it by a couple seconds. I was like, gosh.
I'm pretty sure she was mad at me for some reason. At this point, you know, we ended up FaceTime, and I'm getting pictures and videos of, you know, her giving birth. So I mean, I still kind of watched it, but I just didn't watch it.
Yeah, because his sister was, you know, recording me the whole time.
So I watched it, but, you know, I didn't really watch it, you know, while it happened.
But yeah, so then you know, I'm looking over at the baby, and, you know, he's not making any noise, and, you know, not supposed to happen. So I'm so focused on him, and my mother-in-law was like trying to keep me from looking at him, and, you know, trying to get my mind off of him. They immediately take him where they keep all the premature babies and stuff. So, you know, I'm just sitting there, and I haven't even got to look at my baby. I haven't got to touch him, and I was just like, I want to see my baby. I need to see him. And they're like, you're on too many drugs. You can't walk. You can't do anything by yourself. You can't hold your baby. You need to wait until all that stuff wears out. And I was getting so frustrated because they told me I couldn't see him. Everyone else got to see him before I did. The first time I seen him was through picture. They were like, well, as soon as you're able to feel your legs again, then you could go. No one knows this. But I lied and said that, oh, I feel my legs. It was already an hour and I hadn't seen him. I barely could feel my legs. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I can feel them. I could walk. I couldn't walk. They had to give me a wheelchair, and he was not this chunky. His head was a little bit smaller than this. He had a big head.
At this point, I'm already flying home. I'm on my first flight to, well, can't really say where I was going to, but I was on my first flight, and all my flights were pretty fast. I think I got home within like 2 days of her actually giving birth. I mean, at this point, she doesn't know where I'm at, what I'm doing, anything.
At this point, I don't know anything. Like I said, I barely had any communication with him. So after I gave birth and I went to go see him, they took me to my room that I was gonna be, you know, recovering at. And I'm just worried about him. I know he's good, but that was the first time in 9 months I wasn't with him. So I was a little worried. And
yeah, at this point, I'm still flying. Some of my flights are 10, 12, 16 hours. I told her my flights had got delayed.
And he was going to be here for a couple days. Not being able to be with my baby whenever was already hard enough. And then now hearing that, you know, he wasn't going to be there for another couple days, I was stressing.
Yeah, I think I told her that when I was in going to land in Salt Lake City, or I was already on my way to Sacramento. My dad was like, he picks me up, we get to the hospital, and he's like, do you want to get a uniform? And I was kind of, in my mind, I was like, hell no. Like, I just been in uniform for the past blah, blah, blah months. Like, I don't want to see this uniform. I don't want to touch the uniform for a while.
During all that time, his dad and him are having communication, and I think his mom knows he's coming home too, but she doesn't know when. So I remember literally the day he got there, in the morning, she was like, because I had just given birth, I was not putting on makeup, I was not looking cute for no one. She was like, why didn't you put on makeup today? And I was like, no. Like, I'm extremely tired. I'm not putting on no makeup. I was like, for what? all the nurses, they already seen me like, I don't need to look cute for no one.
Yeah.
But then I low-key regretted it because that's the day that he came.
Yeah, so I remember getting to the hospital. There I was in the parking lot of Kaiser, just getting dressed. I remember people were looking at me like I was probably the weirdest person, but
You got dressed in public?
yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm in the parking lot, you know. I remember as soon as I went to the front desk to like ask for her, she was like, "Are you here for Josiah?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Because literally everyone in the prenatal care, I was talking to the nurses, so everyone knew that he was a soldier.
So I remember getting there to the front desk, and she was like, "Are you here for Josiah?" And I was like, "Yes." And then she's like, "Okay, Jasmine's in the room, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Okay." So
And hold on, before he walks in, I'm over here pumping, and I had literally just finished, and the next thing I know is the door slams wide open, and I was like, who the heck is coming to my room like that? I look up and then I see him.
And I remember like seeing my mom, my mother-in-law, and her, and then
that was the first time him and my mom were gonna meet.
yeah,
so it was a little
that's a whole different backstory.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the first time her mother and I met. I think she gave me a hug. I'm pretty sure she gave me a hug.
She gave
Then
me
I
a
saw
hug.
my mom, and then I obviously gave my mom a hug. It was the first time I had seen my parents in a few months. But I remember seeing her, and she gave me a hug, and she started crying, and I was kind of confused at first, like, what's going on?
I didn't get discharged from the hospital for like a good couple days, maybe even a week. He was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and my husband, he only didn't even stay that long with us. How long did you stay with us?
So I was there for 6 days, and you know, at that point, I didn't know we have paternity leave, but I didn't know how soon I was gonna be able to get it. So as soon as I got back, you know, I was already asking, you know, like, yo, when can I leave?
So he left, and I was still in the hospital. They have like these kind of like stay rooms, and I could stay there without, you know, being admitted into the hospital, so I could be with him. It was like a relief to have him there with me, because, you know, I wasn't the only one dealing, you know, with having him hooked up to wires and
Monitors and stuff.
as a parent, you know, seeing that it was very tough. I had to deal with all this stuff by myself.
I eventually come home like the next week. I think I left Sunday, I believe. And the paternity leave is only 10 days. It's kind of shitty, but you're a soldier first. I'm not even
That's
going into
another
it.
story.
Yeah, I won't even go into that because I don't want to get in trouble for saying the wrong thing. But I really don't care about getting in trouble because you know, I got 5 months left.
But yeah, so that's pretty much the end of our labor and delivery.
And I wish I could have been there for most of it, but
yeah, we got through it, and now he's 9 months.
Big now, almost 9 months. On the
Very
age.
huge, holds his own bottles, a brat.
Sits up, crawls.
Sits up, crawls,
Loves
tries to
boss
stand
baby.
up. So, you know, he's a very healthy baby. So, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.
So there, if she got 100 subscribers, I'd buy her a camera. So,
You know, get
your
your
daddy,
mom,
get
get
your
your grandma, get your daddy, get your cousins, get your dog, get everyone to subscribe, and I'll have better quality, better lighting, a cute little setup. So, help me out. So, we'll see you in our next video. Stay tuned.